Hey guys, welcome to the DJI channel. Thank you very much for tuning in for a video, actually not about this quadcopter here. This is the Caddx MachineWorks Shocker, and it's a self-built quadcopter, right? You buy this frame from Caddx MachineWorks and then you go ahead and build it. Now this is the long range or the light version, and as you might know, there's also a tank version. It's bigger brother, if you will. It is also 5-inch, but well, at least the one I have is also a 5-inch, but it's not light. It's more of a freestyle build, if you will. Yeah, so in this video I'm gonna show you that frame. Here it is, brand new in the bag. And I've bought this frame in Europe from FPV Fly, one of the few shops that actually carry Caddx MachineWorks frames, and I'll have a link in the description to them. Not sponsored, I bought this frame with my own money, but yeah, so in this video I'm gonna show you this frame. Is it well built? Is it does it fit all together well? Is it heavy? Is it rigid? Whatever. And at the end of the video I'll also show you what components I'll be using for this frame. Should be interesting. It's a powerful setup, so it definitely should be interesting. And in a second video about these two quadcopters, I'll fly both of them and I'll give you my impressions of both of these quadcopters. What's different, what's the same. So let's get into it. Frame review of the Caddx MachineWorks Shocker tank. Here we go.
You serious?
Oh, before I forget, this Caddx MachineWorks Shocker Light version is a very nice quadcopter, very nice, and I like dead cat configurations as this is. It has its arms at the top deck, as you can hopefully see, and that flies well. The balance is nice, but it also means that the propellers stick out above the top deck, making it hard to use large lipos. Basically impossible to use large lipos on this quadcopter. Yeah, so I am very much expecting that that'll be different with this bigger, heavy tank version. And we'll see. Also, FPV Fly shipped the frame with some stickers, decals of their brand, Team Astral and FPV Fly stickers, and some TBS stickers. So that's all very nice, highly appreciated. Alright, so the tank frame, here we go. Let's see what's in this bag. There you have it. We got some carbon fiber parts. You were expecting carbon fiber parts, right? So yeah, the frame parts. And we've got 2 straps, which is nice, and 3D printed. Okay, so this is the mount for the air unit. In my case I'll be using a Vista, but you can use it for any kind of VTX, even an analog version. So yeah, and a plate which will be screwed underneath the top deck, and you can double-sided tape any kind of VTX to that. A mounting plate. And we got a bag with all kinds of screws, a lot of screws, and some other parts. Antenna mounts. Okay, so yeah, the antenna mount is specifically for the air unit, so for 2 antenna, as you can hopefully see. Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll have to 3D print something for that, as again I'll be using the Vista with 1 antenna. Okay, and what are these? I don't know. Frame parts, maybe frame parts. And we got a lot of screws and standoffs, aluminium standoffs, and some nylon spacers, probably for your stack, and also longer screws for your actual stack, so that's nice. That's above and beyond. So yeah, and these bluish screws are said to be extra strong and light and extra strong. Yeah, okay, so, and they look cool as well. Yeah, so, okay, so let's assess these carbon fiber parts. Are they, first of all, clean? I always check if things are clean, and if they're not clean you'll need to clean stuff so that you don't get carbon fiber dust in your lungs and on your hands. And this is clean. This is cleaner than I've ever seen actually. Yeah. Okay, so things look well cut and they feel, yeah, there's no burring. This is not an inexpensive frame, by the way, but so far top notch. Yeah, it's clean and no burring and it looks excellent. Yeah, so what else can I say? Well, okay, again, you get 2 straps, which is more than usual. And you don't get a camera mount, an action camera mount. Yeah, that's probably a downside. Okay. What I'll do, actually, I won't show you how to build this frame, as Caddx MachineWorks already has a video, an excellent video on how to build this quadcopter. So no need to do that again, right? So if you are unsure how to assemble this frame, go and look up their YouTube site, their YouTube page, and again, excellent build video. Okay, let's have a look at what the finished frame looks like. Hachikide, we've got ourselves a shocker tank frame ready and assembled. And everything fits well. I must say that this front bar, there's gonna be a little bit of a tension on that. I think that's by design. Also, the camera cage will probably have a little bit of tension on the camera, keeping it in place. And I'm not sure, of course, I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, there will be a little bit of tension, well, minute. Long story short, everything fits well. And okay, so the 3D printed parts, I didn't know what they were for, are braces over here. So they brace the top plate to these, yeah, I'm not sure what these are called. The bottom structure, if you will. Yeah, and also I must say that that was to be expected from Caddx MachineWorks, and especially if you call your quadcopter a tank, this feels super duper sturdy. Yeah, there's no bending this frame at all. This is definitely more sturdy or less flexible than any other 5-inch frame, other than Caddx MachineWorks frames I've come across. Very, very sturdy and stiff. And that's probably partly because of this brace. I think originally they wanted to make this tank version with a rear brace as well. I don't think it's needed. So I guess that's why they omitted it. But yeah, so, and that 3D printed plate goes over here. So you stick your VTX to that with double-sided tape or maybe zip ties. But the nice thing is that it does leave room for straps underneath that plate, like so. Right, for your second battery strap. So that's smart, I guess. Okay, and I did end up printing some parts. My single antenna mount, right, which will go at the rear, obviously, over here. And I've 3D printed this skid plate, which will go in here. Not really needed, but it'll protect the electronics a little more, and maybe even the carbon fiber a little. But again, not really needed, definitely not needed. Okay, and one other thing, you don't get a anti-skid pad for your battery. That's an omission. In my humble opinion, that's an omission. There should be something to keep your battery in place. Yeah, you do get 2 straps, but to me that's not really enough. Something to keep your battery in place on the top deck. Caddx MachineWorks anti-skid pad. Something. Yeah, something. Okay, I do have a lot of spare screws. They are actually not all spare. Some are for the motors, to mount your motors. Some are for a camera. You can imagine that the screws that come with the, for instance, the DJI camera aren't long enough because these plates are pretty thick. 2 millimeters? No, that's more. These are more, maybe even 3 millimeters. Pretty thick. This is a tank, right? So they give you screws to mount your camera, and what more? Yeah, this mount, there are a couple of screws for that mount, antenna mount, and maybe a couple of spares, but mostly screws I haven't used yet. Let's see some measurements of this frame. Alright, this being a dead cat configuration, I'm sure the motor to motor at the front will be less than at the rear. And let's see, 18 centimeters, 180 millimeters, and at the rear, yeah, oh, not that much of a difference. 18 and almost 18 and a half centimeters in width, motor to motor. Okay, diagonally, what is the wheelbase of this frame? 22 and a half centimeters, so 225 millimeters, motor to motor diagonally, front to back. That'll be 133 millimeters. Yeah, okay, so nothing out of the ordinary. What's more important, however, is the weight of this frame, and I'll be comparing it to my currently my go-to 5-inch frame. This is the Foxeer Aura frame, and I've got 4 quadcopters by now with this frame. It is more of a conventional frame, very much so. However, it's also very, very stiff. Okay, so let's see what that weighs. 137 grams, however that is with more TPU parts definitely and a anti-skid pad, but nevertheless 137 grams, 137. And the Caddx MachineWorks frame is, yeah, it looks a little heavier, right? I must say it doesn't feel very heavy, but it's definitely, yeah, it's a little heavier. Definitely. It is, yeah, beefier. Debatable. Probably a little bit beefier. The arms, for instance, beefier. 144 grams. Not horrifying this weight, I must say. I was expecting even heavier, above 150. So, yeah, okay, 144 grams. So I think that concludes my assessment of this frame. In a minute we'll put some motors on this frame and propellers to see what kind of space for batteries you have. And I'll show you the rest of the configuration as well, right? And it cost me approximately €100, this frame. It looks very sturdy, it feels very sturdy. This is the top of the class, I think, in sturdiness. I haven't seen or heard of frames that, well, other Caddx MachineWorks frames might be sturdier, right? Yeah, obviously I haven't flown it yet, but, well, initial assessment, it feels and looks very sturdy. And you'll have something different, a super duper sturdy dead cat frame. Is that worth €100? I assume in the States it's a lot less than $100. Yeah, if you want this frame, it'll cost you. Okay, so also, this is not the lightest frame, and I'd say that if you are shopping around for a configuration for this frame, I'd say put a powerful setup on this quadcopter. Yeah, otherwise you'll be disappointed, I think. Oh, by the way, 20x20 stack mounts and 30.5x30.5 stack mounts at the middle, and no stack mount at the rear. I forgot to mention that. But let's see what configuration I selected for this build. And usually you'll start with motors. I often do when you select a configuration. And these are KO Tech Demon Seed motors. I have 2 other quadcopters with these motors. Yeah, Cryotech and blah blah. I must say there's a lot of marketing blah blah with this brand, I must admit. But these are gorgeous motors and they are powerful and pretty efficient. Yeah, somehow. I'm not sure why, but yeah, these are 2208 motors, so beefy motors for a beefy frame. Right? And also, I will probably do a short product tip about these motors because they are super duper cheap at the moment. The other 2 sets I bought of these motors were approximately €28 a motor. Now they are approximately €13. and maybe you don't see the extra value in the engineering in these motors, or you don't like their marketing, blah blah. Could be, but at 13 euros they are definitely worth it. No matter what you say. So go look them up. Again, I might do a short product tip, but powerful motors for a powerful quadcopter. And yeah, obviously, I probably have, yeah, I have 5 of these motors, 1 spare, right? Okay, so those are the motors. Then I've got a Diatone stack, a Mamba stack. What else were you expecting, right? Yeah, and so it says Mamba Basic, but well, there's nothing basic about this stack. This is one of their master stacks, and I think they stopped using that name by now, but you can still get this stack. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. So this is an F722 MK3 flight controller and a 65 amp 4-in-1 ESC. This is by the 96 kHz version. I ordered this a couple of months ago actually. So by now you'd order the 128 kHz version, but nevertheless a very beefy stack. This is a 30.5 by 30.5 stack. Very, very nice, definitely a beefy stack. And I had actually meant to put an analog setup on this quadcopter, so I've got the Rush Tank Ultimate VTX over here. Makes sense, right? The Tank VTX for this tank build, but I have reconsidered. I have this Polar Caddx Polar set here in the parts bin, and they originally sent me one for a review, by the way, Caddx, but I kind of had a falling out with Caddx, them sending me stuff without asking me if I wanted to review it, and I kind of prefer reviewing parts that I have ordered myself. So I never reviewed this, but I will be using it on this build. Yeah, it's not their best setup, but it's yeah, for me in this case it's free, right? The Polar Vista kit. So no analog setup for this quadcopter. And in my case that also means that I'll be using a TBS Croffire receiver. I use those receivers on all my digital builds, only on my digital builds. For my analog builds I use FrSky setups. But again, this will be a digital build, so Crossfire receiver. And for a propeller I'll be using, I'm actually not completely sure. This is the DALprop Nepal N2, and I do use these propellers on my other freestyle builds. This being a slightly heavier build, I'm not sure if these will work out. These propellers tend to need a little bit of tuning. They are higher speed than a typical freestyle propeller, so I'm not sure. I really don't know. We'll see. Actually, in the next video I will be running the quadcopter on these propellers, and we'll see if that works out. And for lipos I'll be using these CNHL Black Series, and I have a lot of these 1100 mAh 6S packs. They work out well on my other freestyle builds. This being a little bit heavier of a build, I have ordered me some 1300 of these. The same lipo, but a little bit bigger. I really don't know. I tend to like to try at least to keep the quadcopters semi-light. Semi-light. It's a freestyle quadcopter, right? But yeah, the extra amp draw of a bigger lipo, okay. Yeah, the lipo will then be able to handle that, but will the ESC? You never know. Again, this is my go-to freestyle lipo. I will be trying these on the quadcopter, but I have ordered me some 1200s as well. Oh, and I just noticed that FVFly also included this battery strap. That's nice with the frame, right? And this is actually a better battery strap than Caddx MachineWorks shipped with the frame. So that's definitely nice. And that kind of concludes my assessment of this frame and my roundup of the parts I'll be using. Now let's put some motors on this frame and see what the spacing for the battery is. Alrighty, I'm happy to say that there is a big difference in spacing. Here you see the shocker light on your left, and hopefully you can see there's very little space between the propeller blades at the rear over here. And over here on the tank version there is quite a lot more space. And if I put a lipo on the tank, which I haven't tried yet, but yeah, definitely no trouble at all. And you could definitely also put a nickel metal hydride pack between these lipos. That is, I must say, a downside of these frames with the arms at the top level, at the top deck level. The propellers can interfere with your lipo and also with the action camera. You'll have to take that into account when designing a mount for your action camera. This way the propellers are at the same level as the center line or the CG of the quadcopter, which is generally the lipo, the heaviest part. So that this setup does fly very well. You can definitely sense that. I have several of these kinds of quadcopters, and you probably know that I ran the Gap RC elegant quadcopters a couple of years ago. Same idea. And yeah, so again, that works, but there are some drawbacks, and the propellers being in the way of the lipo and the action camera is one of them. But again, for this frame there's no problem fitting in your lipo in between the propellers. So guys, that was my review of this Caddx MachineWorks Shocker tank frame and an overview of the parts. In the next video we'll give it a rip, right? We'll see if it actually flies well. Be on the lookout for that. If you are left with questions, hit me up a comment down below. Hope this was informative. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.